All right, this is Recreation 308, Recreational Sport Programming, and we're talking about this is the second video of round robin, and talking about round robin tournaments. Last time we talked about decision making when it comes to what tournament is going to be best and kind of some factors to think about. And then we started getting into round robin. And so one of the things we have to look at now is to get a better understanding. This is where we get into the mathematics side of tournament making. We have to understand kind of, everything, get some answers to help us schedule the round robin. And so we're going to look at these again. If you're mathematically impaired and scared of numbers and letters working together, very basic. I'm not a mathematician by any means, but it is very basic, and hopefully between the two of us we'll be able to get it. So this is the first thing you think about is the number of teams in a tournament. So whenever you see the uppercase N just means the number of teams in a tournament. Okay, so in this case we have 64 teams in the tournament. Okay, sometimes we'll do math to solve for N so we can figure out how many teams we can actually have in a tournament. Sometimes we'll know, like a lot of times in round robin when we run leagues, we have people register for it and we get a total number of teams. Then we know what our N is, and then we can kind of use that N to help us determine other factors to help us scheduling and knowing what we're going to need. So anytime you see an uppercase N, we're referring to round robin, it is just the number of teams in the tournament. Okay. Lowercase n now is the number of teams per league. Remember, we're dividing up the teams into smaller groups, right? And those are called leagues. So we might have 64 teams in the total tournament, but only 8 teams per league. Okay, so in that case we'd have 8 teams per league, 8 leagues. That means 64 total teams, right? So that's something to keep in mind. So lowercase n just means the number of teams in a league. The number of games to play, the number of games that each team gets to play. Each team is in a league, right? You play everybody in the league based upon round robin. So always think about it. If we have 8 teams in the league, I'm one of the teams, or my team is one of the teams, so I'm not going to play against myself. So it's always n minus 1, lowercase n minus 1. Okay, so that means if I'm playing, my team is playing in an 8-team league, I'm going to play 7 games because I have 7 other opponents within that league. Okay. If we're looking at the total number of games to finish the league, so that's my whole league, each team is playing 7 games, right? So it's n times n minus 1. So in our case, n is 8. And so n minus 1 is 7. Times 8 is 56. Divided by 2 gives us 28 games to finish it, right? That would give us 28 games to finish the league. Okay? So again, simple, just substituting in. Our n is 8. Our lowercase n, the number of teams in our league is 8. So we can put in 8 for an n. 8 minus 1 is 7 times 8, according to this equation. And then we do our division. And so 56 divided by 2 is 28. How about, now that was just one league, but we have 8 other leagues going on, right? We have 64 total teams. So now we want to look at the number of games to complete the league because we have all those other ones. So in this case, it's basically, we just figured out, we have 8 teams per league minus 1, that's 7, times 8, 56, divided by 2 is 28, times the total leagues. Okay, so it'd be 8 times 28. Gosh, 64, 6, 16, 200 and some games there to complete the league. So it gives us a good idea of how many teams we're going to need to, or how many games we're going to need to guess it'd be not 200, but you get the idea, right? It's 20 or yeah, 28 times 8, okay, to determine how many games you're going to need to complete the league or the tournament with all the leagues. And here, this is another equation that you have to think about is, all right, we know we have now 8 times 28 to determine who's the winner, right? Or to determine, get all the leagues done. But now we have to look, do we have enough facilities for that? And so to determine the total games available to play in the tournament, we have to look at the number of weeks that we have for the tournament times the number of days per week, because we know there's 7 days a week, but we're not open 7 days a week, and we can't use our facility for all those 7 days for that particular event. So we only have it open 3 days a week or 4 days a week or 5 days a week for the event. So we might go 5 weeks times 5 days, that's 25, right? Times the number of hours. So we may only have staff there 3 hours, 4 hours, from 6 o'clock hour to 7, 7 to 8, 8 to 9, 9 to 10. We mainly have 4 hours, right, of games going on. Because again, we're not using the whole 24 hours, right? So we have 4 hours times the number of playing areas. How many fields do we have that we can have participants going on and using for those 4 hours, for those 5 days, for that 5 weeks, whatever. It gives you the total number of games available to play in the tournament. Think of it as total number of games that can go on in each field during those time periods, during those days of the week that we have available. That's what this is telling us, okay? So looking at this, let's say, and something to keep in mind, the more leagues we break it down into, the fewer games that we're going to have, okay? So the more leagues and the more that'll kind of shorten the length of the season for us. Because think of this, okay? So we have one league of 30 teams, right? So the number of games per team each team will play is n-1. So that's 29, right? Oops, let me go back. Okay, so we have 29 games. Remember, so that's a whole heck of a lot of games for each group. We have games per league is basically n-1, so it's 29 times 30 divided by 2. Big number, right? And then divided by, or then times the number of leagues, so that at least it's going to be the same number there. So one of the trends I want you to see is as we look across this, you'll see that the more leagues that we have and the fewer teams in each league, the fewer games that we're going to have. Okay, so take a look at this. So here's the same thing. So if we had one league with that 30, we know 29, but oh my gosh, we have to have 435 games to get it done. Okay, that's how many games per league. Luckily, we only have one league, so it's still 435, but that's a whole heck of a lot. With 2 teams with 15, we're still going to have to get 210 games in. You come down here to the 10 leagues of 3 teams, each team's going to play 2 games. They're going to have, that means that we're only really going to need 3 games per league, and that means we only need 30 games. Okay. Now again, if we're pushing it through in times of the essence, then a lot of leagues and very few teams. Probably somewhere in this middle ground is where you're going to find yourself. So you're giving them an adequate number of games to play, and giving them the feel like they're getting that participation that they're seeking out. This that top one, that's a lot of games for somebody. Talk about attrition. If you know your team's not very good and you're playing 29 games, you're probably going to lose interest pretty quick. So think about that. Format does make a difference. How many leagues that we have set up and how many teams are in each one of those leagues is going to impact how many games do we have to have, how many fields we need, how much time it's going to take. Okay. So let's look at a little bit of round robin practice. We're going to practice with round robin. Okay. So we said the total number of games equals the number of weeks times the number of days per week times the number of hours per day times the number of courts. And so let's say we're doing 1 week. We have 5 days per week that week. We do have 3 hours a day and 6 courts. So basically we have 90 total games that we can put on in that 1 week. 90 games for that 1 week when you do all the multiplication. 1 times 5 is 5, times 3 is 15, 15 times 6 is 90. So then we have to break it down into male and female, because we're going to do split the sexes, and we're going to have male and female. Okay. So in that, we're going to have 36 teams. Okay, 18 males, 18 females. Okay. So looking at our equation, so we have total number of games times number of leagues. So we have, and we break it down, we can look at different ways of looking at it. So let's say we have 3 leagues of male with 6 teams in each one of them, 3 teams of female with 6 teams in it. That breaks down, looking at just, number of leagues, or number of teams per league. N is that's the lowercase n. That's 6. 6 minus 1 is 5, times 6 is 30, divided by 2, we have 15 games per league. If we go look at 6 leagues of 3 teams each, we're basically coming out with 3 games per league. So small n is 3. 3 minus 1 is 2, times 3 gives us 6, divided by 2 gives us 3. Let's say we do 2 leagues of 9. Then we have 8, n minus 1 is 8, times 9 gives us 72, divided by 2. We're looking at 36 games per league, okay, to get our leagues in. Okay. So let's look at, to determine the number of games to play leagues, use number of games per league times number of leagues, right? So we have 3 leagues of 6, right? 3 leagues of 6. So here, okay, we have that n minus 1 times 3, okay, gives us that 15 times 3 is